there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. GM Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books and bookish things. I upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Central Time. I am an independent author and an avid reader, as well as a cat mom of 3. You might see them wandering in and out. I leave my office door open while I film because otherwise they sit outside the door and scream the whole time, and that picks up on the mic, and it's just easier to let them come and go as they please. And today I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different, and that is I want to talk about the difference between your typical strong female character and agency, and what that looks like in writing, and what that looks like in the greater world of character development. So let's get into it. Okay, so strong female character used to be, like, I want to say in movies and things, like, it kind of kicked off in a major way in the 80s with Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor in the Terminator, in T2 specifically, but in the Terminator itself, with the strong female character. There is a problem with the strong female character trope, because so often it feels like it's used as a shorthand for anti-feminist ideals. And I'll get into that here in just a minute. The strong female character, you have characters like Buffy, like Ellen Ripley, like Sarah Connor in T2. You have these characters that, in some cases, especially in the Sarah Connor case, could just as easily have been written as man, and perhaps in an earlier draft were male characters. And that's a problem, because there is nuance to gender identity and expression and all of that. That there's nuance to how society perceives you in your gender. And I'm not going to talk about gender identity and expression that much, but it is important to note that it does vary from culture to culture, from place to place, and from time to time. But the strong female character, like, a lot of times you have the problem where it's just a male character with boobs, and that's just frustrating because there's no reason for this character to be a female. There's nothing about the plight of the female woman in whatever setting she's in whatever time period, in whatever socioeconomic status she's in, because there is nuance, there's power imbalances, pro or con, depending on how the story is set up, that you can explore. There's so many things that you can explore, and to just put boobs on your male character is a major problem. And then you have the characters that are pulled along by the plot, that are strong female characters because they punch people, but they don't have agency. When I talk about agency, I mean having a say in your destiny, that you're not just a victim of fate. And that can be an interesting writing choice. You have the Lady of Shalott as a classic literary example, that she's a victim of her fate and she doesn't really have agency, and that's kind of the point, and that can be something to explore. But if you're wanting to write a strong female character, you need to give her agency. You need to give her the ability to shape her reality as she sees it, at least in the confines that she can. So often these characters are the chosen one, and it's done in such a way that to make her strong, to make the strong female character strong, you make all the other female characters weak. Instead of just putting her on the same level as the other characters, you bring the other characters down a level, or 2, or 3, or 6. And there's the problem of, I've heard it called the problem of Mary Sue's, that so many authors, the strong female character is just a self-insert, and she's doing all the things the author wished she could do, And I believe as writers, we're all guilty of this at some point to some level of having a Mary Sue character in our writing. Usually, we try to edit them out, or at least I do. I try to edit out all the Mary Sue details and flesh out the character. This is why I interview my characters as extensively as I do. I ask them hundreds of questions. I do, for all of my main characters, I ask about 50 questions for my supporting characters, and I ask at least 10 questions for my side characters, for my on and off characters, because every character deserves to feel like they are the main character, whether they are or not. And I think that that's something that shows, at least in my writing. But so many problematic strong female characters are just self-insert. That there's a bully, so I punched him, and then everybody clapped, kind of a feel. And like, there's the problem of what I want to call ugly erasure. That these strong female characters don't ever get to be anything other than bodacious bombshells. That they have to still be wielding a sword or a lasso or what have you, and still be sexy and thin, but not too thin, but not muscular, the way that you would expect someone who wields a broadsword all day, every day, who cracks a whip all day, every day, who swings a lasso all day. Like, these things require musculature. And instead we've got these, like, skin and bones with big boobs. And it's always bothered me. And then you put them in the revealing armor, and you do all of this, that, and the other. And a lot of times, their femininity is erased in everything but aesthetics. That it gets back to the not like other girls problem. That I went through a big not like other girls phase when I was younger. That I was very much, I'm not like other girls. I read. I'm not like other girls. I'm in band. I'm not like everything about me was like a dig at other women. And I've since grown out of that. I've learned and I've grown, and I'm very sorry to anybody that I insulted while I was going through that phase, because essentially it was rooted in I don't like me. So I'm going to take these things about me and amplify them in such a way that I feel a little better by putting someone else down, whether that person exists or not. And I feel sorry, very strongly and very profoundly sorry for anybody that I may have hurt while I was going through that phase. I'm pushing 40, so I've since grown out of that phase, and now when I get to the not like other girls, my immediate response is, well, what's wrong with other girls? What's wrong with wanting to do needlepoint and do sewing and painting and singing and pianoforte and all these things that are, in Western society at least, traditionally feminine? Like, what's wrong with all of these things? And so often your strong female characters are strong because they're not like other girls, because they're Mary Sues, because they're just a male character with boobs. They don't actually have a strength of character, a strength of will, a strength of personality. Oftentimes they have no personality. And it's just so frustrating to read that it's gotten to the point where anytime I'm reading a book blurb or a review or anything, and they're like, strong female character, I just skip it. Whether it's a movie or a TV show or a book or a comic or a web, I just skip it. If they're going to call their character a strong female character, that buzzword, that just gives me the ick. It just gives me the ick so much. Because, like I said, what's wrong with other girls? What's wrong with exploring femininity? What's wrong with rejecting femininity in a way that doesn't put other women down? I would like to see a female character that is strong, that doesn't put other women down, that doesn't say, well, I'm not like her because I'm different and that makes me better. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to read that. I don't want to watch that. I don't want that in my head. So talking about agency is the ability to choose the things that they want to do. And another bit in the strong female character is you have in situations that what's the inciting incident is usually some sort of an assault. And like I Spit on Your Grave, for instance, the horror movie. The inciting incident, what makes her into a strong female character, what makes her into the final girl in the movie, is that she was assaulted, and so she's going to wreak havoc. Well, yes, you have historical figures like Boudica, who was assaulted, and her daughters were assaulted, and she rained hell on the Romans. And that's great. But that's not something that's required for the storytelling. That's not something that really needs to be there as an inciting incident. And so many strong female characters. You have, in Game of Thrones, you have Brienne of Tarth, who I really enjoyed her in the book. She was a lot more developed in the book, but in the TV show, she was very much a not like other girls character. And she's played by Gwendolyn Christie. She's gorgeous. She is a statuesque beauty. She is the kind of beauty that I aspire to. And she was very much played as a not like other girls. And it felt like in the show, like she put down and looked down on other characters, like Sansa and like all the other characters. Sansa, especially in the books, had a very quiet kind of strength. Because if I went through what Sansa did, I would just be a weeping mess in the corner for the rest of the book series. And yet she gathered herself together, she stood tall, she had grace, she had poise, and part of it is because she had to, but a larger part of it is because the character had agency, and she chose to. She took the things that happened, she examined them, and then she chose, not was forced by another character, not was forced by some magic plot device, but chose to stand up straight and with poise and do her thing. That so many times agency is disguised as what I think of as prophecy. That, oh, well, of course she has agency. She could choose not to fulfill the prophecy. Well, it's a prophecy. She kind of has to fulfill it. That's kind of what makes it a prophecy. And so many writers out there, book, TV, movie, comic, webcomic, what have you, don't give female characters the same level of respect in the characterization of them that they do their male characters. And male authors, female authors, non-binary authors are all guilty of this. They're not all of them, but there are those in every category of demographic of author that are guilty of this. Some of the worst ones that I've seen, and there's an entire subreddit, are male and male presenting authors. That there's a whole subreddit of men writing women. That it's getting things like basic anatomy wrong, getting things like being girls wrong, getting things like the feminine experience, and the agency is a big one, that she's a strong female character and she doesn't use a sword because a sword is a thrusting instrument. She uses a lasso of truth like Wonder Woman because that's an engulfing, and I'm like, just no. So November used to be National Novel Writing Month. The organization as a whole, thankfully, crashed and burned and is no more. I am doing my own writing challenge where I'm trying to get to 60,000 words in the month of November. But my advice to other writers out there, especially if you're new or if you're writing what could be described as a strong female character, make sure you give her agency. Make sure you give your characters the respect of giving them agency. Make sure you respect your characters enough to give them the ability to say no. whether they say yes or no or maybe. Give them the ability and put repercussions behind each of the actions that they have to pick from. Like, let us see what would happen if they chose A instead of B. Even if they choose B, give us what that would look like. Give us the agency. Do them the respect, and don't just put boobs on a male character. If that's the only way you know how to write female characters, maybe you should be writing female characters. Are there any writing tropes or book tropes, movie tropes, TV tropes that just bother you? For me, the main one that bothers me is the quote-unquote strong female character versus agency. There are a couple other ones that bother me. The not like other girls, which I feel falls into the strong female character trope, bothers me in a major way. But what are some that get to you and just give you that ick, that make it so that maybe you don't finish the book or the TV show or the movie or what have you, that you don't finish consuming that piece of media because something isn't developed or developed properly or given the respect that it deserves? I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.